All right. So I will be running the meeting tonight in the place of Michelle, who is with us, but not necessarily in a circumstance where she can stay present and run the meeting. So I would like to call the meeting of the Hamilton Central School Board of Education to order at 6:31 p.m. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. So I'll make me be the one to actually say it this time. Ready? So I pledge allegiance
to the flag,
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry, Ellen.
Okay, now that we got that through that's the hardest part of the whole day. All right. So moving through the agenda, item 1.3, we have moved to after the consent agenda, and that still may remain fluid. It depends on when Scott and Lisa will be available to present to us, because we moved our meeting. There was a conflict for them. So that has moved. Additions to the agenda. Any other additions to the agenda?
There is none.
There is one. Okay.
No, there's none.
There are none.
There are none.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, can I have a motion to approve the agenda as submitted?
I'll move.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Yeah. Approval of the minutes. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the February 11th regular meeting, the board workshop of March 1st, and I think the minutes from the special meeting on March 15th are in there as well. Are they not, Debbie?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can move on that too.
I'll move.
Yes, they are.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Consent agenda. Motion to approve the following consent agenda as recommended by the superintendent. So this is items 3.1 through 4.3. I am not going to read them individually. It's treasurer's report, consideration of claims, transportation cafeteria, transportation proposition, capital project contract, independent financial audit services, second reading of policies, extracurricular advisors, and combined sports. Any motion?
Move.
Second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Discussion. There's a lot there. Are there any discussions?
Just on 4.3. Sorry, go ahead,
That's
Travis.
what I was going to ask about, Corey.
4.3?
We probably have the same question. Go ahead.
So my question is, we just approved winter sports. We just approved the minutes for that meeting, but we didn't necessarily approve spring sports. Not that I see that being an issue, but 4.3 is to approve the playing of football, but we haven't necessarily approved the fall sports one. Is that how it's being worded?
It's fall 2.
So do we need to, out of the abundance of caution, amend that to pending the approval or the happening? Do you see my concern?
Travis, I think this is the combined because our players go to Waterville. So I think that
I understand
approving
that.
is.
But
My
our kids
point
are
is-
playing fall 2. I mean, they're already practicing, right? I mean, so I guess
Yeah.
the question is,
Okay.
do we need to? I mean, we approved to move forward with sports with the high risk indoor winter sports. I don't know that we need to take a separate action to continue moving forward with the ongoing seasons, particularly when most of those sports are lower risk than those winter sports were.
I thought that was the agreement at our athletic meeting that we would get up to the athletic director proceed and the superintendent and administrators. I thought that was my understanding, but maybe I was wrong.
All I'm saying is the motion that we voted on was for winter sports. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not saying we shouldn't, or it just caught me off guard when I saw that. And I just wanted to bring it up. And Corey, was that what you were going to point out, or did you have a different take?
Yeah, just that. Do we need to do anything separate from this, or is this enough to approve?
Bill, what's your take?
Well, this particular motion is only for combining with Waterville for football. That's the
Right.
sole purpose of the motion.
That motion.
The larger discussion would be fall 2 sports, which have been approved by the Department of Health to move forward. Section 3, New York State. They are a lower risk sport. They are outdoors. So if you want to put it as a motion to continue to move forward with athletics fall 2 and then spring, because that'll be coming up April 19th, I believe, is the start date for spring sport. So
I guess for me,
I don't
it's
have a
less.
problem with spring sports.
Yeah, for me, it's more
Go ahead.
procedural. Do we need to do that? Or is that a decision you can make? And if it is, fine. I just want to make sure we're not missing anything that we should be doing.
So we certainly wouldn't normally approve sports. They would just happen.
That's what
We
I'm
have been. That's the point.
But yeah, I'm trying to think, is it different? And I'm literally thinking out loud, so bear with me here. These are clearly approved by the state. The high risk sports were too, so I don't think there's any procedural objection to this. I'm going to poll the board. Does the board feel like we need to have a motion to move forward with sports at the discretion of the superintendent and the athletic director? Does the board feel like they need to make a general motion that says that, or are we comfortable just approving combined sports and not feeling a need to provide that motion?
My feeling is we can vote on this. Bill, if you want to take some time and figure out, do we need to do anything else? Let us know.
okay.
But if the answer is no, then we're fine.
Okay.
Okay, we're all good
And
with
in
that?
regards to 4.3, I'm fine. It's just kind of what Corey was saying. It's the formality of it. I just wanted to make sure everything was jiving correctly.
I will get back to you on that.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I don't think either of us is saying we want to have a whole nother debate about
Yeah. No.
whether or not. It's just, are we procedurally
So
covered? Do we do everything correctly? And if we did, great. If not, we can revisit it to make sure we're doing it right.
can I, it's my understanding that even though I'm running the meeting, I'm allowed to make a motion. So can I make a motion that the board, say
Yeah.
that the superintendent and the athletic director may proceed with sports for the remainder of the year at their discretion?
I'll second.
Well, sorry. I'll let,
She can do that. She just made a motion and I
if I can
seconded.
if I can discuss.
Yeah.
Yes.
My only thing with that is, do we need to?
But we're questioning if we need to, so let's just do it
Yeah.
and get
Okay.
it done and have it done. I mean, does anybody see a reason not to do that?
Well, at this point, we have to either move to get
Right.
rid of this motion that we're in.
Right.
We're in a secondary motion right now. So
Yep. So I move that so continue forward this motion that the superintendent and athletic director may proceed with sports at their discretion, returning to the board with concerns as needed. I modified it. Go back to the original motion. So, all right, vote.
Well, hang on. We have to vote on that motion.
No, go back to the original motion.
But
the-
you can't. You have to make a, no,
So,
you just
no,
opened up.
Her original motion. Not
My
4.3.
original motion. My
Okay.
original motion of allowing the superintendent and the athletic director to proceed with sports at their discretion.
And I seconded it.
Yes. We discussed. Any other discussion? All those in
Nope.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
It's
now,
fine.
yeah. Any other discussion about the consent agenda? I hope I didn't just completely screw all that up, but
Is there any other way we can make this more complicated than it needs to be?
Debbie,
yes.
you need
Pretty
time
good
to
job.
catch up.
yes, thank you.
Ellen, Scott, and Lisa have joined us. So if you want to
Yep.
go to
Well, we need, let's finish. We need to actually finish the consent agenda. We
We're in
need to
the middle
actually
of a
finish the
motion.
vote. Yeah. So is there any other discussion about the consent agenda?
No.
No.
Okay, so can we vote on the consent agenda? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay. So Madison Oneida Bosse's administrative budget presentation. Welcome, Scott and Lisa.
Trying to unmute here. Hi, thank you for having us. We are, we've just completed an in-person meeting in another school district. So if it looks like we're in a classroom, it's because we are. So thanks for having
It's
us.
awesome.
And we're going to try to navigate the sound here because we're in the same room. So I'm Scott Boodlemans, District Superintendent, and Lisa Decker is also here, Deputy Superintendent. And by now you've received our packets, and I'm hoping that I can walk you through the right-hand side, which is just sort of an overview of some of our instructional programs. And then Lisa will share the budget numbers with you. So starting on the right-hand side, there is a brochure, a special education brochure to start with. And if I could just ask you to open that up, you'll see that we have several special education programs that we offer through BOCES. The first is, in the first panel, you can see we have a K6 intensive management needs program. And in the third panel, you can see there's a 7-12 intensive management needs program for both age ranges. The K6 program is located at JD George and at our main BOCES campus. And then the 7-12 program is located on our main BOCES campus, and the staffing ratios for those programs are 811 programs. The middle panel is the skills development program provided at JD George and VVS. It's a K-12 program with a staffing ratio of 12:1:1. And then on the far right, you'll see we have an autism program for K-12 students. That's also located at the JD George campus and the VVS Middle High School. On the back side, we have a more staffing intensive program called our STARS program. This is for K-6 kids, and the staffing ratio is 6:1:2. So there's just a quick overview. I won't spend a lot of time on any of this because we've got a lot of it, but feel free to ask questions when I get through with it all. This next document, it says management services at the top. Provides a good overview of what BOCES is all about. But it's specific to management services, this document, but the principles are generally applicable. So under our management services team, we provide central business office services, central bus maintenance, labor relations, policy services, printing, graphics, public relations, legal services, risk management, school lunch services, grant writing, shared maintenance services. Those are just some of that we provide. If you look at the top, I think the important point to note, and this is not only true of management, but true of BOCES generally, is we provide services when school districts come together and they ask us to do it. We don't provide services that school districts don't ask for. We're not even permitted to do that. So there has to be a share. There has to be at least 2 school districts who want something. And as a result, we're a creature of the market. If schools don't want us, we don't exist, okay? More specifically, we only exist where they want us. We do what schools can't do. We do what schools want to do together. So it takes 2 or more school districts to decide. Every year by May 1st, you're making decisions about what you want to purchase and what you don't want to purchase. And we shrink and grow and we shift our staff depending on whatever your choices are. We benchmark our prices against the private market. This is particularly true in the area of management services because there is a private market. There really isn't a private market for teaching so much, but there is management services. So things like central business office or bus maintenance, you'll find that our prices are very similar to the private sector. You turn over to the back side of the same document, just a quick look at revenue sources. Really, we have one revenue source, and that is school districts. School districts either decide to buy things or they don't. So we don't collect taxes. We don't have the power to tax. We don't get state aid. We don't get any of the money that Schumer just thinks he found for everybody, right? We don't get any of that. That all goes to schools. We have to adopt a balanced budget every year, and any money that we don't spend each year goes back to the schools. It all goes back. We're subject to the same audit requirements that school districts are subject to. And at the bottom, again, just an overview of staffing. We staff up and we staff down depending on what people want, what school districts want. And we shift our staff use according to demand. So that's just a quick overview of the way BOCES works and is specifically management services. The next document, just a white document. It says at the top, Hamilton Central School District, BOCES services as of March 8th. So these are the services that you currently participate in. I'll just run through a few. The very first service, 101, CTE, a very popular service among schools in our region. You have 34 students in that program right now. The next three services are special ed services, those that I described in the brochure. Services like 407 Performing Arts and 413 Exploratory Enrichment. These are opportunities for you to provide learning, field trips and other experiences for kids. Labor Relations, that's 603. Central Bus Maintenance, 611. And then on the back, you participate. I'm just highlighting a few: cooperative bidding and risk management with Jack Angrisano. So these are all specific to Hamilton. The next document, we call it our partnerships document. So these are our partnerships with Hamilton right now. And you can just see some specific statistics with respect to your students in particular. As I said before, you can see on the right-hand side, you've got 34 students in CTE right now. In 2020, there's some statistics there about the completion rate. You had 4 students complete 1 year and 5 students complete the 2-year course. And then you had 4 students receive a technical endorsement. And the technical endorsement means that they passed a technical assessment, they completed a portfolio, and they did a senior project. On the right-hand side, you can see the placement percentages for graduates or for people who completed CTE. Those statistics are general to BOCES, the BOCES CTE program, not just Hamilton. So 46% of CTE completers last year went on to post-secondary education. 22% were employed in their program, 17% were employed, 5% in the military, and 10% others. And then also we've listed the names of your National Technical Honor Society inductees last year. At the bottom of the page, and actually more to the next page, you can see special education programs. So they're the specific enrollments. For example, you've got 1 student in our 811 program for K-6. You've got 3 students in the 712 program and 1 student in the K-6 program for STARS. That's described in the other brochure. Midway through the document, grant writing, early childhood, these are other services we provide. Staff development on the following page. These are all the teacher PD opportunities last year. And then halfway down, you can see Center for Instructional Support. That's really school library system services. You turn to the next page, you'll see just the growth in electronic resources available for teachers now and to kids, specifically through school library system services. So you can see the number of ebook titles went from 524 to 2,881.
Wow.
Yeah, just the jump in the COVID period. At the bottom, you can see printing and public information services. We have a PR service that several school districts have used recently. And then on the back, RIC, a very vigorous service during the pandemic, obviously. Our RIC services for BOCES in 50 school districts. And then policy development service at the bottom. And in the final page, central business office services and risk management services. Next document, just a yellow document. I won't spend any time on it. It's just an article about another local BOCES, some of the work it did during the pandemic. It's very similar to the work that this BOCES did during the pandemic. And then 2 postcards, one designed for parents, one designed for students. And what this is our Propel program with MD, Mohawk Valley Community College. We're very proud of this. So this is a program where students can get sort of a triple recognition. They can get a local diploma from Hamilton Central School District. They can get a CTE completion certificate from BOCES, so they can complete CTE. And then they can also get an associate's degree from Mohawk Valley Community College with just 1 additional year of study after high school. So this is something we're pretty proud of. I think kids are going to be happy to participate in that. Next document just highlights one of our CTE programs, Equine and Animal Science. Historically, that program has been a lot about equine. We're increasing the curricular activities to include some small animal science services, some instruction in small animal sciences. So that's a little bit of a shift. That's just a result of the demand from students. Next document, another CTE program. As you know, CTE is very well attended in our region. I think we have more than 40% of juniors and seniors among the 9 school districts spend time at CTE at BOCES. And what we're excited to roll out now is what we're calling our Foundations 1 program. For a long time, we've had Foundations of CTE in the sophomore year. Students can come in fact, I think that came out of Hamilton years ago. Sophomores can come in and they can explore CTE. And in their sophomore year, they earn an ELA credit and a math credit. Well, this year we're starting a Foundations 1 program for freshmen. So first year of high school, you want to try out CTE. If you look on the back of the first page, you can earn a living environment credit and a health credit, and then move on to Foundations 2 if you like. Or you could just select one and not participate in the other. The next document highlights another CTE program. For those of you who have been at our annual meeting, you'll recall the popularity of culinary arts. Large numbers of students in our region participating in culinary arts. They prepare the meal for the annual meeting. Usually it's a pathway for 1 year, and culinary 1 is in your junior year, culinary 2 is in your senior year. What this is providing the opportunity for is students who are really very highly interested in becoming chefs. They can enter a select pathway to become part of the advanced culinary experience. That would be a class in place of culinary 2. But culinary 2 is still available to others. A couple more documents, then I'll turn it over to Lisa. You've got a 2-page document just about dual credit opportunities available through BOCES. If you take classes at BOCES, some dual credit opportunities with college. Our Labor Relations and Policy Service, I think you're familiar with that. We have 5 school attorneys that do contract negotiations and other work for school districts. They're all on the back there smiling at you. Next page, the next document is an overview of the RIC. Again, as I indicated, our Regional Information Center is one of 12 RICs in the state. There are 37 BOCES, but 12 RICs. Our RIC is a leader in the state. They do a lot with education law, privacy, data security. They service 50 school districts. And then finally, just some information about a grant that New York State received and that several BOCES partners are putting into place so that teachers can get professional development in the area of online instruction. So that, I know that was quick. I just thought I'd give you a very short overview of some of the programs available through BOCES. I'm happy to take any questions, and then Lisa can talk to you about the budgets, and of course we'll take questions after that as well.
Thanks, Scott.
Well, thank you. And I'm gonna do the volume switcheroo so my partner here next door doesn't, so we don't make a mess. I think I did it. Nope. I'm not familiar with Google.
Okay, I think I'm on.
We gotcha. Perfect.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks, Scott. So I'll go over the proposed administrative and capital rent budgets with you. So on the left-hand side of your folder, many of you are familiar with the format. That'll be the blue sheet, the administrative budget. So the BOCES administrative budget includes expenses for our central administrative staff as well as our business office staff. So that would be our deputy and district superintendent positions, our director of business services, 50% of our director of finance, 20% of our assistant personnel director, and 4.5 clerks and secretarial positions. So there's 8.2 positions, and you'll see a line for fringe benefits associated with those positions, the BOCES contribution for teacher retirement system and employees retirement system, health insurance, and FICA payroll taxes. We also have a couple of line items for equipment, supplies, and software, as well as a line item for interest charges for RAND borrowings. And included in the administrative budget are mileage and workshop expenses for those positions that I mentioned, as well as board meetings, as well as our auditor, so our independent audit. Just as you do an independent audit every year, BOCES is required to have one as well. So that's in here. BOCES also has several memberships that help in the advocacy efforts for the region. So School Boards Association, Council of School Superintendents, the Association of School Business Officials, Rural Schools are some of those memberships. Contractual expenses, So some required expenses here are our contract with Omni for our 403B compliance, as well as our actuarial report for the GASB piece of the audit. Legal fees are a line item in this budget as well. We also have budgeted for superintendent's meetings, as well as postage and advertising for legal notices. And then on the bottom, you'll see just as districts pay for services through BOCES, such as support through the Regional Information Center, labor relations, flex plan administration, the BOCES administrative budget also contributes its share to those services as well. So the 2021 current budget for those direct expenses this year is $1,445,037. Proposed for next year is $1,459,935, or 1.03% increase. On the back of that document, you'll see in Part B for BOCES, we are required to show all of our retiree health insurance obligation in our administrative budget, regardless of where those retirees served, whether they're a RIC or a CBO or a teacher. All the retiree health insurance for the whole BOCES is included in this budget. We have 241 retirees, and we're anticipating 21. So the current 2021 budget, including the retiree health insurance expense, is $5,289,355, and the proposed is $5,773,568. And then in Part C, you'll see the revenue sources to offset that budget. So we have some miscellaneous revenue, like our retiree drug subsidy, as well as some interest and indirect costs. We also have a collections in advance, which is an accrual that we set up years ago with our auditor to make sure that we have 1 year's worth of expense set aside for that retiree health insurance obligation. So you'll see that that number directly offsets that number up above in Part B. And then the balance is allocated across the 9 component districts. This year, that allocation is $1,132,845. Proposed for 2021 is $1,156,861, or a 2.12% increase. And then on the very bottom, you'll see the allocation based on our WADA, which is the resident weighted average daily attendance. So this is a number that comes from the State Education Department, and it's based on data that all the school districts submit at the end of the year reporting attendance. So in column 1, you'll see that the 9 component school districts total our WADA is 15,136. For Hamilton, this year is 576, or about a 3.8% share of that. That translates to, you'll see in column 3, a dollar share this year of 43,110. The estimated aid ratio in column 4 is actually the millage ratio this year for Hamilton, 58.8%. The estimated BOCES aid driven on those expenses for this year is estimated at 17,607, leaving a net local share after aid of approximately 25,504. And then in the 2021 down below, you'll see again the Arwada for the region, 15,198 total. Hamilton share of 585, again about a 3.8% share. Column 3 shows the dollar share for Hamilton going to 44,530. And then column 4 is the estimated aid ratio. So this year, Hamilton's Arwada aid ratio is actually a little bit higher than the millage ratio. So we're able to, that's the one that will be used to calculate the program and admin budgets at 60.8%. The estimated dollar amount of aid driven is 18,654. Estimated local share, 25,876, or a difference after aid of approximately $372. Are there any questions on the budget or the allocation before I move on to the rent?
Yeah, hi. So can you explain a little bit to me? This year we're using
Me
the,
too.
what's that?
I'll turn it up. Okay, I'm sorry about that. My volume was down.
Oh, it's all right. So our aid ratio this year came from the millage ratio, is that right?
Yes.
Is that not always the case? It's my first
So
year, so I'm trying to learn this stuff a little bit.
sure, sure. And Hamilton is a little bit odd in the region in that sense, in that some years your millage ratio is higher than your Arwada aid ratio. So for the administrative budget and the program budget, so all of the services that Scott talked about earlier, you would use the higher of either the millage or the Arwada aid ratio. When we get to the capital budget, you'll see that that's always the Arwada aid ratio regardless. So you're right, Hamilton is a little bit of an anomaly, and this year you flip back to the Arwada aid ratio as being the higher ratio.
What do other component districts usually use, just out of curiosity?
Most of the components in our region are Arwada aid ratio.
Yeah. I think that answers it for now. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, so next I'll go on to the rent and capital budget on the green sheet. So BOCES rent space in component districts such as our allied health classroom located in Oneida, our Costello Center, and special ed classrooms over in VBS. We have a rent committee of 3 superintendents that help determine those rental rates for the upcoming year. So you see that as the first line item on the budget. We also have facility projects. That's the second piece of the budget. The first is dormitory authority. Back in 2002, the BOCES did a major renovation on the Rossetti Center. That was financed through DASNY, and so you'll see the scheduled payment to pay off those bonds. And then every year, BOCES plans for another capital project. Last year, we did the Rossetti safety upgrades where we moved the main office in the Rossetti Center to be more secure. This year, we did HVAC upgrades, and next year, we're looking at some CTE reconfigurations. Across those 3 years, 19, 20, 2021, and proposed for next year, we're proposing that the budget stay flat at $1,738,700. And then on the bottom, in the same manner as the administrative budget was allocated, the rent and capital budget is allocated by Arwada. So you'll see the same Arwada numbers and percentages. Column 3, you see Hamilton's share this year of that rent and capital budget is $66,166. Column 4 is the Arwada aid ratio. So you see that's 58.7 over here for this year. The estimated local share after BOCES aid is 27,327. For next year, the proposed dollar share goes to 66,926. The estimated aid ratio, again, Arwada aid ratio, drives aid of approximately 40,691. And then column 6 is the estimated local share after that aid of 26,235, or actually a decrease of $1,092. There any other questions on capital budget, admin budget, or anything that Scott spoke about?
I do, I'm sorry.
It's fine.
So the capital and rent budget, is that the same thing as the facilities aid? Is that the same category?
So BOCES doesn't get facilities aid. BOCES gets building aid only.
Okay.
But for the districts, it's calculated. The districts are paying for the capital projects, and so the districts get the aid back on that. So BOCES really acts as just a pass-through.
Okay. I made the mistake of going down the rabbit hole of the state aid handbook, and it just made me confused, so I apologize.
Were you having trouble sleeping that night?
Yeah, to be honest. So I'm glad to see that our aid ratio went up by about 2%. Is the wealth of our district what really hurts us? I
Yes.
shouldn't say hurt, but we're
You're right.
significantly lower than other districts, which is understandable. But is it the wealth that really causes that?
It's the property value as compared statewide. So you're right. In this region, again, Hamilton is a little bit of an anomaly. So you'll see
A lot of it.
Hamilton and Madison. You're
Yeah.
right around serving between 479 500 students. but Hamilton's aid ratio is 60.8, where Madison's is 79.1. So you're serving approximately the same number of kids, but when the state compares the property values in Hamilton to Madison, it's going to incentivize Madison a little bit more for sharing, because that makes Hamilton look like a wealthier district on paper.
Okay.
All right. Does anybody else
Yeah.
have any questions? Oh, you're good, Travis?
I'm good. I'll
You sure?
sleep on it and come back with something else.
Next year. He'll be ready for you next
Yeah,
year.
I'll be ready for you next year.
Anybody else have any questions? Thank you, as always, for your efficient and informative presentations and for everything BOCES does. It's amazing. And to see those additions is really incredible.
Well, thank you
Thank
for
you so
having
much.
us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
All right.
So we'll let them mute and drop off. The next thing on the agenda is community participation. So we'll give a few minutes to see if there's anything typed in the chat. Chris, I think people have gotten pretty adept at typing while they're waiting. Are you seeing anything at this point? Okay. So Michelle, I will look to you. Do you normally give it a few minutes here, or do we just keep moving because we have another opportunity later?
No, if there's nothing there, we can move along.
That was my feeling, but I wanted
Yeah.
to make sure. Plus, that killed a little bit of time. Nothing there, Chris. We're good to go.
Exactly.
All right. We'll move on to all of our guests. So, new business, personnel, tenure recommendations. I'm going to do these one at a time because that only seems fair and appropriate. Dawn Giddings, recommended action. Motion to approve the appointment of Dawn Giddings as a tenured music teacher effective September 1, 2021, following the successful completion of her probationary period. Can I have a motion?
I'll move.
I will move. I'll second.
Any discussion? Congratulations.
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 All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Yay. Congratulations. Carolyn Stoddard, recommended action. Motion to approve the appointment of Carolyn Stoddard as a tenured physical education teacher effective September 1, 2021, following the successful completion of her probationary period. Can I have a motion?
I'll move.
I'll second. We're all racing for these.
I was laughing at the fingers crossed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
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 Yay. Okay, Susan White. Motion to approve the appointment of Susan White as a tenured elementary teacher effective September 1, 2021, following the successful completion of her probationary period. Can I please have a motion?
I'll move.
I'll move.
I got that one.
A second.
And a second. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Oh, the days of when we could have cake and punch.
I know.
Someday. We're gonna have one heck of a party when this thing is over. Okay. Allison Forth Farrar. Recommended motion to approve the appointment of Allison Forth Farrar as a tenured elementary teacher effective September 1, 2021, following the successful completion of her probationary period. Can I please have a
I'll
motion?
Move.
I got it too.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations.
I
Congratulations.
never get to move. That's why I'm on it this tonight.
Okay. I'll let you do it.
I'm surprised you didn't fight to read these, actually. Okay. Ryan Bain, a motion to approve the appointment of Ryan Bain as a tenured art teacher effective September 1, 2021, following the successful completion of his probationary period. Can I please have a
I'll
motion?
move.
I'll second.
Oh man, you got beat on both.
Sorry, gotcha.
Oh, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Yay!
Yay.
Congratulations.
Wait, sorry.
All
Was that written wrong? It just says art teacher. It doesn't say anything about bus driver.
No, it
Oh.
doesn't. Do we have tenured bus drivers? That's a whole new world. Okay.
What about sports fan?
He's locked into that.
All right. Next, Emily Freeth. Motion to approve the appointment of Emily Freeth as a tenured social studies teacher effective September 1, 2021, following the successful completion of her probationary period.
I'll move.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yay!
Congratulations.
This is a serious round of applause.
Yes.
Congratulations,
Yes.
everyone. I really do wish we could have you all together and have cake and punch and all of those good things, but someday.
I just have to say, because all of you, I have touched my kids in some way, so I have to say thank you. And also, I think all of you, I have been behind a screen when you're talking to my kids this year, and it's and it's great to hear your voices. And you've done so much for this community that this is more of a success for us than it is for you, to be honest. You're all here.
Absolutely.
So thank you all so much.
Yeah, we're very lucky to have you all here. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very well deserved by each and every one of you. We're really, really proud of you, and you are awesome additions to a tenure track position here at Hamilton. And stop down tomorrow. We have gifts for you and certificates for you. So come in the office, and congratulations, each and every one of you. Very proud of you.
I was pretty sure there was something, so I'm glad you said it, Bill. That's good.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting. We won't be offended. Go celebrate.
The vote is done.
The vote is done. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I'm still on. I haven't muted myself right. Okay. So then continuing to move forward, appointment of Elizabeth Wood Amir. Motion to amend Elizabeth Wood Amir's appointment for long-term substitute to a probationary full-time foreign language teacher effective March 15th, 2021, as recommended by the secondary principal and superintendent.
I'll move.
I got that one too.
Second.
Do we need to have any discussion later? Okay.
Okay.
All those in
Congratulations.
favor?
Aye.
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 We.
Yes, congratulations. Congratulations. Okay. My printed copy has something about the spring musical, but are we doing that? We're not doing
We are
that.
not. We are not.
I did not think so.
I sent you an email saying.
You did send me an email. Debbie, I'm lucky to know what day of the week it is. Okay, we got this. All right, sublist. Recommended motion to approve Coraline Coy as a substitute as recommended by the interim elementary principal and superintendent.
I'll move.
Move. Second.
Do we need to have any discussion later? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Fall sports. Motion to, I'm glad we made an earlier motion. I'm just going to say, because it would have come back right now. Motion to approve the appointment of Jennifer Brooks as varsity coach for volleyball and Allison McCorkle as JV coach for volleyball for the 2021 season, contingent upon sufficient numbers of participants for completion and COVID-19 safety protocols are followed as recommended by the athletic director and superintendent.
I'll
Can I have a
move.
motion? Okay. Second? Okay. Do any discussion
Second.
about this? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Committee on Special Education and Preschool Special Education. Motion to approve the recommendation of the Committee on Special Education and Preschool Special Education. If anything needs to be discussed in particular, it should be done in executive session. Can I have a motion?
Move.
Second?
A second.
Is there any discussion we need to have later? Nope. Can we, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, so now I believe I know the answer to fill in this blank, so I'm going, do I know the answer to fill in this blank before I read a motion and have to amend it?
Sort of.
Start
Bill, do you
you.
want to explain?
No, we have to move.
Oh.
Okay,
We have
so I
put
have
the
to move.
motion-
Yeah.
Put the
discussion
Okay.
happened
name
after.
that is the person currently, and then we'll go. from there.
Okay, okay. Motion to nominate Harry Jarko for the office of member of the Board of Cooperative Educational Services for July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2024.
I'll move.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
So Harry Jarko currently serves in that capacity. He has offered if any acting board member would like to take that position, he's willing to resign from that position so an acting board member can be put on that board. He's also willing, if no active board member is interested in that position, he's very willing to continue in that role. So he wanted to make it available to a sitting board member, because when he was appointed, he was a sitting board member and no longer is. So he just wanted to make that available to any sitting board member who would like to be on the board, the BOCES board.
I don't think that's correct. Was he appointed when he was a sitting member? I thought he was replacing the previous one.
He replaced after. He's only been on very recently.
Yeah, he was.
Oh,
not
right, because he replaced Steph.
Right.
So he was already off of our board.
Yep.
But he just
Sorry about
replaced
that, Travis. You're correct.
That's fine.
Yeah, thank you.
I'd love to, but I just can't. So I'm going to pass.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. And so I'm going to say, I'm going to make a statement, and I think it probably applies for most of us, and everybody can. Again, like, I think I just don't have the bandwidth to do something like this. But what I don't want anybody to take from this is a reflection that we are not interested or supportive of this BOCES board. I think most of us would love to be involved in that BOCES board and fully support that work and that effort. But at this time, I think we're all sliced in so many different directions that it's hard to pick that up. So I'm saying that for myself. I don't want to speak for anybody else.
I agree, and I think because
echo
we think it's so important that we need to have somebody that can dedicate the time to it. So.
And I don't think we're an outlier of the component districts. I don't think we're the only ones that have a non-board member on their board. I could be wrong, but.
So, okay. Any other discussion about that motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, thanks, Harry.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Harry.
Thank you, Harry. NISBA Area 5 nomination. Motion to nominate Mr. William Miller as the NISBA Area 5 Director for a 2-year term effective January 1, 2022.
I'll move.
Have a second? Any discussion?
Yeah. Has anyone ever met him?
I've been on a lot of legislative committee meetings with him through the legislative committee on BOCES, and he's a great guy and is very excited about the potential of this position.
Yeah, what I could find out about him researching was he seems to have been dedicated to this for a long time, and has been doing, has the experience and seems to be in line with what I think our board's goals are for education in our region.
That's the piece I kind of wanted to know. So thank you.
No, absolutely.
Great. Good discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, 6.5, policies, first read. Periodic financial reports, investments, audit committee, and purchase orders. Honestly, I read these 2 weeks ago when we were going to have the meeting last
You want
week.
to kind of jump in and give you a quick recap?
Please, yeah, there's no vote here. We're just discussing. So yes, please do go.
So 4130, we just cleaned it up a little bit. 4330, we made some recommended changes. And 4540, the big change was we added an annual review paragraph to kind of follow suit with all the required annual review policies.
Oh, okay, got it. So it's added to one that gets reviewed annually.
Correct.
Okay.
Because that was required anyway, so we just put the language in there to match the other ones that are required to be reviewed.
Got it. Okay. I did not have any concerns when I read them. Any other discussion points or?
I just want to say thank you for providing us the clean copy and the revised copy.
Yes.
That's super helpful. So thank you.
I absolutely agree. Yes. Thank you for that.
Those are directed at Debbie, I hope.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't want to take credit for that.
Yeah.
But it really
Thank you,
does
Debbie.
make it easier to see, so much easier to see what's changing. To really, look and figure out why things are changing to do that. So agreed. Thank you, Debbie. All
welcome.
right. Yay. So next, 6.6, annual required policies. The policy committee will review the annual required policies every June, and they will be placed as a separate agenda item at the July reorganizational meeting. So that is code of conduct, investments, purchasing procedure, bidding, non-bidding purchasing, parent and family engagement, and student attendance.
Are you guys cool with that?
Yeah, we don't need to vote on that or anything, right? That's just a
Nope,
discussion and
you
a
guys asked
recommendation.
us, the policy
Yeah.
committee, to review it, and that's what we kind of came up with. So
I
here
think
you
it's
go.
great.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's good.
I think it's great. I think it's perfect.
Thanks.
Make sure that we keep that on the list. Okay, information and correspondence. Number one is administrators' reports, and this is always the debate about how we do this. And I'm going here, hoping I'm still logged in. And Chris is the first one on the list, so Chris gets to go.
That is exciting. I'm never first. Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. Not a ton to report in the time intervening between our meetings, but I do have a few things that I'd like to mention. Of course, as everybody knows, the administrative team has been spending a ton of time working on a plan to increase our in-person time with students. And I'm sure that the other administrators will talk about how much planning time that is taking. So we've been working on that. The new Chromebooks that we've been talking about have finally arrived. They've all been inventoried and deployed. This makes the entire fleet uniform and up to date, which makes me very happy and the students who are using very old equipment very happy. And you know, it's just going to make things much smoother. There's not a million different power cords. They're all the same. I can't tell you how nice that is from a managerial standpoint. And they're also much, faster, more reliable for the kids. So we're glad to finally have those. All the Promethean boards, which were in the same purchase that we purchased initially, have been put up. After they were all put up, I realized that there were a couple of rooms that I miscounted, so I'm going to make sure that I take care of that so that all the rooms are uniform as well. One thing that's been pretty neat is that we've been collaborating with Cove from Colgate, and they have a number of students from their computer science department who have been working with our third graders every Monday after school. And it has turned out to be a rollicking success. We've got like 20 third graders participating every single week. They talk about it all week long, according to the third grade teachers. I've been popping in to the meetings to make sure that everything is going okay. And the students who from Colgate are just awesome. They are really like funny and friendly with the kids. So it's just been a huge success and really positive. So I wanted to share that with the board. That's my report.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You guys
Thank you
have
for sharing that.
any questions for me?
Yeah, Chris, I don't know if this is really your department. The report looks great too. Thank you. I'm not going to pronounce this right. The Promethean, is that right?
Sure, yes.
So a couple were overlooked. Understand that happens. How will they be paid for?
So this is paid for through the
School?
Smart Schools grant.
Okay.
So, when I was doing the budgeting for the Smart Schools grant, I left a little bit of money sort of unencumbered in case something like this came up.
Okay, that's the part I was looking for. Thank
Yep.
you.
Any other questions for Chris? Mm-mm. All right, and the way the reports were loaded into the agenda, Heather, you're next.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So, so two of our projects that we were able to complete during the month of February and launched this month were HCS READ. So that's off and running. So we are all, the elementaries, we all has one book that we're reading together. We've had a tremendous amount of support from the PTO in terms of time dedicated to creating the website, finding the readers for each chapter. So we hope that the families are really enjoying this opportunity to read a book together, and also to take advantage of the videos that we've uploaded to listen to somebody in our community read a book as well. So that's been great. We also have launched our Brain Buddies program, and again, in collaboration with Colgate University. So we currently have 17 students, elementary students that are participating, and there are approximately 30 Colgate volunteers. So the focus of this program is to support students in their remotely while they are completing assignments. So we're happy that both of those programs were launched last month. So the primarily the new business is redeveloping schedules school-wide with classroom teachers, and also as a whole, taking a look at revamping the special schedules. We're revamping the breakfast, lunch programs, the locations and the times. Also, taking a look at how to restaff different classrooms, as well as areas such as recess and lunch. We have been spending a lot of time adjusting class rosters, looking at furniture, looking at how to successfully, place students and in the classrooms as we get ready to return to school in person 4 days a week. Also, another focus has been to plan for the New York State testing. So that will happen a week and a half after we return to school, 4 days. So the ELA test, we are planning for April 22nd in the elementary and May 6th for the math test as well. So that takes a tremendous amount of scheduling and looking at how we're going to be administering that test. And that's pretty much the news from the elementary. Any questions regarding any of those pieces?
Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, Heather, I got two, and they're kind of related. You've been keeping us updated on you got like a new math program you're looking for. How's that going?
So unfortunately, with the advent of working on all of those pieces, I've had different representatives be able to attend our math team meetings, but we've had to put a pause on that at this point in time. So
totally understandable.
I hope that my new plan is perhaps over the summer we can continue. We have lots of the materials in the building now. We have a lot of the online resources available to us, but we just don't have the time to take a look at that. So
I got you. And you don't want to rush something like that anyway.
Yeah.
So in terms of data collection, you have the state test, which has an ELA and a math portion. You have the NWEA, which also has an ELA and a math portion. And then for ELA, you have your F&P benchmarks. I guess my question is, because I'm a big fan of the F&P benchmarks, I'm a little biased, I guess, but is there a math version of that? Like some kind of like non-computerized or non-standardized test where the teacher is more in control of, not that you could sway it either way, but is there like a math version, something comparable to the F&P in the ELA?
So our math program, so there are just assessments that are given to students after, like unit assessments. So those are given, but in terms of like a quarterly assessment, so those unit assessments are given after the students are studying the unit, but I don't know of anything that would be comparable to the.
And it's not my I'm not saying there should be. I just, it seems like a useful tool for the ELA. So just out of curiosity, I was wondering, like, you're looking at math programs, is that something that's,
Yeah. A lot of the new math programs have a lot of assessment components in them. That is something that is an area that, as we look at these new curriculums, that we really are looking at as well, both online as well as, in-person assessments. So,
And again, that was just a question out of curiosity. That's all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions for Heather? Thank you. Mark is next on my list.
Hello, everyone. Let's see. So since I submitted my report, a few things. We've had 5-week reports. So in my report, I had the 20-week report cards, but we've had 5 weekers since then. So we've really worked hard to and continue to reach out to struggling students and their families and try to develop plans moving forward. A result, we've had a few more students come in person. A few more even next week are coming in person. So that has slowly been students trickling in. Counseling department is still working very hard at working with students to develop future plans, to help guide them on their, what courses they're going to be taking next year, what kind of path they would like to go on. And so they're working with the students to do that, and working to develop the master schedule for next year. But as Heather has said, we're also shifting, kind of like starting a new school year again here after April break. So we have a lot of work to do there. And so the counseling department is definitely on overtime, doing a lot of 2 things at once as we move through this. NICEAD has announced that the state assessments will be occurring. So we're working on the dates for that and making sure that we have the planning around it for students that need accommodations. So you have your, different testing areas, and making sure that we have proctors and everything's in place for a successful testing period. Regents exams, as of now, are still happening as well, but they'll be giving 4 Regents exams in ELA, 2 sciences, living environment, earth science, and then the Algebra 1 exam. We're hoping to hear more details. We just heard some new information on Monday, and they keep coming out with new information as they're working through things. The waiver is still pending, so all that's still up in the air, but we're planning to move forward with what we know right now. Before February break, Middle School Student Council had their activity at the end of the day, so the students got to go to different classrooms, kind of chat with some people that maybe they normally don't see during the day. And it was a successful time for them, and the students, they planned it all. And thank you to Jamie Boardway for helping them in the planning process. It was a good way to, end that school week and then start the February break for those students. So I think that worked out really well. In my report, our JV and varsity athletic season had just started, but now it has just ended. And I do have a report to read from Coach Reynolds. She gave me about the seasons. So I'll just read what she gave me. So our condensed winter season finished on Saturday, March 13th. And all in all, the season was a success. We were able to get in a total of 16 varsity games and 13 JV games in a 17-day period. We developed a successful streaming feature with the support of sports boosters who purchased the necessary equipment for us. I also wanted to personally thank Morgan Larson, who spent many nights at our home games helping to make sure the game streamed successfully. He worked with our student commentators and camera operators to make the streaming what it is, and we wouldn't have been able to do it without him. So he brought our streaming from, if we're using a sports analogy here, when we first started, we were a modified team, but when Morgan got a hold of it, he turned it into a varsity team. It was pretty neat to watch what he was able to do, and just his tenacity towards it and his knowledge of technology. He really did a great job with that. Our Fall 2 season kicked off with volleyball starting on March 8th and soccer starting on March 15th. At this time, we are only offering JV and varsity sports. As it is such a short season, we are offering skills and drills sessions with Coach Hauk on Saturdays for modified athletes. And the first day of that will be March 20th. Volleyball is in the high risk category, so there will be no spectators present at their games, but games will be streamed on our YouTube channel, Hamilton Athletics. Soccer is still considered low to moderate risk, so we are able to allow 2 spectators per athlete to attend. Spectators will be allowed to attend away games as well. We will continue to live stream both of these events, and I'm working with Morgan to determine the best way to continue these different sports. Fall 2 will run from March 8th through April 19th. Spring season is scheduled to start April 19th and run through June 30th, with a proposed week-long sectional event taking place at the culmination of the season. These logistics are still being worked at the sectional level, but we're hoping to offer as much of a normal season as possible for our spring sport athletes, as they've already lost a full season last spring. Spring sports will include modified and varsity baseball, modified and varsity softball, and varsity track and field, with a potential of modified track and field pending a combination approval. Mrs. Reynolds writes that I'm very proud of our athletes and coaches for how they've continued to follow our changing protocols and their commitment to their teams. We're excited to see them back in Hamilton uniforms, representing our school and community. To add to that, personally, I was at the games. You know, the kids did a great job. The coaches did a great job. I think the refs did a great job. So I think that everybody is coming together to make it work and to make it safe and successful. That's all I have.
Great. Any questions for Mark?
Not a question, but a comment. Mark, thank you. You changed up your reporting style a little bit to kind of flow with board goals, and it was very helpful. So thank you.
Yeah.
All right. I think Kevin's next on the list.
I apologize. Hello, everyone, first of all, but I apologize if my camera goes off a few times. I've been sitting in this chair since 9 o'clock this morning. We are in the midst of CSE season. That's every spring. All 99 CSE students and another 40 or 50 504 plan students have their annual meetings this time of the year. So we're right into it, and Thursday's our busiest day. So that's really consumed most of my time. It's not just the meetings that consume your time. It goes hand in hand with next year's budget. And what I mean by that is what students' needs are and what we're planning for next year at these annual meetings directly impact the special education budget for next year. So we have to carefully construct what we can provide for our students and how we can provide for our students the supports so that we're meeting their needs and doing so within the budget constraints that we do have. So it's a strategic kind of time of the year for me, because we're really thinking about next year as we head into these meetings as well. So that's been the bulk of my time. Another good part of what's happening is what Heather and Mark and Chris are describing is really getting ready for next year. The scheduling piece for special education and related services, putting those pieces together, aides and TAs, making sure that all students have those that need them, they have their needs met. There's no other way to put it than it's starting the year over again, just with schedules and all that. So that's a big part. Heather and I have also been involved in the hiring process of our new elementary teachers. We have 4 teachers that we are hiring for. We have been screening and continue to screen new candidates on a almost daily basis as they come in. We've brought in several teachers to interview. We've had some really, really good interviews. Heather and I got out in front of this early. We were one of the first schools in the region to start interviewing process. When the candidates come in, you'd ask them, are they interviewing anywhere else? And it was always that this was the first. So it was good we got out there in front, because I think you're able to see more candidates and have a better quality of candidates. So I think we had a nice team of teachers and administrators that got to meet some really good candidates, and we're excited about what's to come. Hopefully at the April meeting, we'll have some recommendations for you. We're quite certain we will, and we'll have all that taken care of at the April meeting. One other thing is I set up this week our annual CPI refresher for all of our aides and TAs who are certified in CPI. CPI is a non-violent prevention, violence intervention prevention. What it does is it teaches our aides, TAs, and a few teachers that have signed up for it how to intervene when students are being unsafe. And it outlines many nonviolent prevention techniques and strategies so that you don't have to intervene if a student is in threat of harming himself or herself or someone else. As part of that CPI training, the last resort is like training teachers and aides and TAs how to use a restraint if necessary. It's pretty rare that we ever have to do that. And it's only when a student is in jeopardy of hurting themselves or someone else. But the CPI is a really good prevention program. And so we've set that up so that aides and TAs will have their refreshers in April on one of our Wednesday remote days that'll be taking place. So I think that's about all I have. I did want to say, Travis, I thought that was a really good question you had about the math assessment. To kind of outline what Travis was talking about, for those of you who are not familiar with the testing, the NWA and the state testing are really good ways to gauge where our learners are and measure our progress, both of the students and of our instructional practices. But they're tests that students sit down and take, whether it be on the computer or paper pencil. They're excellently well-designed tests. But when you mentioned the LLI, which we do quarterly for our struggling students and 3 times a year for all students, the teacher sits down and listens to a student read and then asks questions of the student. It's more of a interactive kind of exam, and it does provide some students that might not do as well on a paper pencil computer based exam an opportunity to really show their skills. So that was an excellent question, Travis, and I definitely want to look in to the possibility of something like that. So we don't really have an AIS elementary teacher, and we do have reading teachers that do support that. So it would be something that teachers would have to do, but there might be something that we could do 3 times a year in math that's similar, where the teacher sits and asks questions of the student and there's an interaction in those answers. So it's a really good question.
Yeah, so thanks. In terms of data, and I know you love data, I like data when I know the F&P, there's a formula you follow, so it's not like, the teacher will be like, oh yeah, we're going to pass him. But it seems like that's useful because it's teacher input, so yeah, I was just curious.
Thanks.
You're still waiting on some NWEA data, I take it?
So yeah, I put that in my report. So I worked with BOCES, and NWA does not aggregate their data by school. I don't know why. They aggregate the data by grade level. And for me to give you the results of individual grade levels in a school this size is pretty telling of who's being successful and who's not, because you only have 2 teachers at each grade level. And because there were discrepancies in scores from grade level to grade level, I didn't want to share that. So I asked, is there a way we can aggregate it? And so they sent me this spreadsheet of all 200 or so kids that took it, ELA and math, with all of their results. And she said, if you know someone who does spreadsheet really well, they can put it together and aggregate it for you. With all that's going on, I haven't had time to do that.
Kevin, please don't go through a whole bunch of trouble just to answer a question I had like that.
You can look at it in general and say, we're doing better than most schools. I can't tell you exactly how much better, but if you look at each grade level, you can see.
The NWEA compares to other schools that use the NWEA.
Correct. It's over 1 million students, both math and ELA, across the country.
Okay, I was gonna how many schools is that? I guess was the question.
NWA is the most widely used standardized exam in the country. It's not
test, no tie to me, but is that second or?
I don't know. I just know because NWA touts that. To be honest, I've never looked into it, but they tout that.
Did you get suckered in with a salesman?
Sure. No, when our BOCE says that too. No one else in this region uses it for some reason, but you go downstate, all of Long Island, all of Westchester County, you get into metropolitan areas across the country, it's widely used. So
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Any other questions for Kevin? Anyone else? Thank you. I think Matt, can you be the budget update? Can that be your report too? So before we go there, I just want to, because I don't want to forget to say it at some point. You guys have all said it over and over again. And so I just want to say again, one more time, thank you for everything that you are doing to rewrite the year, 2/3 of the way through the year. Again, I just want to say thank you, and acknowledge that I fully understand how exhausting and overwhelming this is and can be. So thank you again. I just wanted to make sure that got said before it got lost in other things. So thank you.
I'm going to jump in before Matt. Sorry. I'm going to sign off. So I just wanted to let you all know that the HEF, the Emerald Foundation, is working on quite a few things, but the biggest thing is they're going to try to do a superintendent's coffee with alumni, and that'll be in June, and more information will follow. But they're hoping to get some alumni on to hear from Bill and what's going on at the school. So I know I'm jumping out of order, but I am going to sign off. And thank you, Ellen, for running the meeting, and good luck to the rest of you tonight.
Good night.
Thanks, Michelle. Bye.
All right. Should we let Matt go? I think it's Matt's turn.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Like everybody else, with the support staff and the non-instructional components, really for the last month, the main focus, really, and even out of my office, has been the reopening. Buildings and grounds, transportation, food service, they'll be ready. I mean, I'm confident that all of those facets will step up and do what needs to be done. Of course, instruction and health and safety in the building is paramount, but the other facets of our operations will be ready. I think Heather sort of alluded to being back in August, and it does kind of feel like that. So, but I'm pretty confident that we're going to get through it, and it's going to be a good final 10 weeks. With regard to the budget, it's been kind of tough, with the focus on reopening and with very little coming out of New York State. There's other stuff going on in Albany right now that maybe is a welcome distraction from a budgetary standpoint. But we had our budget coffees a couple weeks ago. They weren't real heavily attended. So just quickly, I think, I don't know if every board member made it to at least one of those, but really what we talked about was the executive proposal of the state budget. And, it was a pretty bleak outlook, and specifically looking at our budget runs district by district. But a couple of the big things that were in the executive proposal that were troubling. Number one was some adjustments to the statewide STAR program, which would be reducing some of the STAR reimbursements to property tax owners. To school districts. So the districts would be kind of eating that difference that we're so accustomed to getting back as a reimbursement from the state. Also, the combining of all categorical aids, BOCES aid, transportation aid, high cost aids, 11 different aid categories. Those are the things we identified that would be problematic for us and really all school districts. Typically, the governor's proposal has some of these things that ultimately end up being flushed out. We did get some correspondence from NISCUS earlier this week that both the Senate and the Assembly issued their one house budget bills. And they both, as we were sort of expecting and optimistic would happen, they both, get rid of that, the changes to the STAR program. They leave the categorical aids as is. So, kind of keeping things somewhat normal, much more encouraging than the executive proposal. So we'll wait and see what happens. The biggest unknown right now, and you heard Scott Budelman sort of make reference to it earlier, is what's going to happen with all this federal stimulus money. In the executive proposal from Governor Cuomo, basically what he was doing was he was going to reduce all school districts' state aid by the amount that was coming in federal aid. So on his executive run, we had a little over $500,000 in COVID relief money that was coming in, but we had a local aid deficit reduction. I think they called it basically the new GEA in an equivalent amount. So, and this is what history tells us, this is what the state has done in the past. When there's a state budget deficit, use federal funds to plug the hole and take from everywhere else. So that was in his proposal, dollar for dollar. Oddly enough, on Tuesday, out of Senator Schumer's office, nothing from New York State, but out of his office, federal office, a list came out with all the money that's going to school districts. We still anticipate that these monies are going to be funneled through New York State. So it was a little misleading. You know, we don't expect that these monies are just going to come to the districts. Even if they did, it would be problematic because we've been through this before. One-time big significant revenues can be problematic long-term. But the other thing that was sort of odd was from what we know, the governor's proposal was based on a $6 billion stimulus package. Our district amount was over $500,000. Well, now that the federal stimulus package, New York State, I believe, receiving 13 billion or so, and the amount of federal stimulus monies to the district was actually less than what was on the governor's proposal. So the big question mark right now is what's going to happen with federal stimulus money, how it's going to be distributed, both for next year or possibly in future years. Internally, you know, we have 6 retirements that were approved in February. So that gives us an opportunity through hiring, perhaps to be creative. You know, unfortunately, we're not really in a position where we can really be adding. We're trying to keep things afloat. You know, what happens with federal stimulus money is probably going to dictate, you know, how much we need to dip into reserves and that kind of thing, how much appropriated fund balance from this year to next. So I'm thinking tentatively right now we'll probably try to do another couple coffees maybe in that week before break, just because I don't want to go to the second, third week of April right up against when the board's going to be adopting a budget without any type of more formal public budget update. So hopefully we'll know more out of the state within the next couple of weeks. We're certainly going to kind of ramp up our talks internally more in the next week or two. As Kevin mentioned, he's getting through these CSE meetings, so we have a better idea of outside placements with special ed and some of the other things that really impact the budget on an annual basis. So, you know, not much of an update, but really sort of wait and see here. One thing that's a little could be problematic with everything that's going on in Albany. If the state doesn't have an on-time budget, it could push things back a little bit, but we will wait and see. Any questions?
That's it.
I don't want to go first again. Anyone else have anything? All right, Matt. Thank you for that update too. Smaller scale budgeting question. So this year we're saving money on transportation expenditures as opposed to last year. Is that accurate? Or not really?
Marginally, probably not a whole lot.
Okay.
I mean, because we started the year with 3 in-district bus runs, and we added a 4th as we had a few kids starting to come back from fully remote to hybrid. And then after break, we'll be up to 5, which is our normal.
5 is the normal.
We've also,
okay.
Yep. We still have our out-of-district bus runs are all the same. Really, the one area where I'd say we'd save the most is with athletic trips. You know, we haven't had the athletic volume, but those runs aren't aidable anyway. So,
so you see where the question is going. Then I guess my question, maybe this is what bit us from last year into this year, but that means if you save money on expenditures this year, you lose on revenue next year. Is that accurate?
Potentially, yes. I mean, like with athletics, the athletic miles aren't aidable, so that really doesn't have the impact. The biggest thing hanging out there right now that there's uncertainty on is the basically call them the COVID related miles and trips. So delivering meals, delivering materials, that kind of thing. Whether or not those are going to be aidable or not. But for us, I mean, really, that's where we benefit by being small and I'll say relatively small footprint geographically. I mean, we're 50 square miles.
Yeah, we're a small geographic.
Camden's 350. So it's really hard to tell. I mean, is our trans aid going to be lower next year than this year? Yeah, in all likelihood, yes, for sure.
Gotcha. That was all I had. Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else with any other questions for Matt? Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
I think we're up to the superintendent's report.
Thanks, Ellen, and thanks for thanking the administrative team. I'm going to echo your comments. They're exhausted and they're stressed, and the amount of work that they are putting in, starting in August, putting together our original reopening plan, making sure that plan was delivered in a safe, in an instructionally sound manner. And now the work they're doing, when you hear all the other things that they're also working on simultaneously, budget, scheduling, CSE meetings, curriculum formulations and technology, they are working nonstop and burning the candle at all ends. And I can't thank them enough for the work that they're putting in. And it's a thankless job sometimes. And when they can hear a thank you and we have the opportunity to thank this administrative team, I'm certainly going to do that because I appreciate them so much for the work that they're doing and the delivery of leadership that they are providing in their particular areas is outstanding. So thank you to each and every one of you. I'm going to continue with some congratulations and some recognitions. We haven't done a nightlight in quite a while. So I have two tonight. They couldn't be with us because one is coaching volleyball and one has a family commitment. But Laura Russin and Jen Brooks, our pickup procedure was a real question mark at the beginning of the year. You know, what was that going to look like? Could we do it safely? What was, the new traffic flow going to look like? And they have taken that on. These two are out there in sub-zero weather, rain, whatever, and that has become a very efficient process for us throughout this whole beginning of the year until now. And I'm very confident that they'll continue with our new reopening when we add students. But, Laura Russin and Jen Brooks, they know every person that pulls into that circle. If they don't, they're checking IDs. They're making sure that they are the appropriate person to pick up that student. And I can't thank them enough for the work that they're doing every single day to make that an efficient process. So Laura and Jen, thank you very much. You will have your certificates tomorrow when you stop down.
Yay, thank you.
Yep. A couple of things since my last report. Mark touched on assessments. State Ed is still hoping that a waiver will be approved, but in the meantime, we have to be prepared for state assessments in the 4 regents that will be delivered. Also, the low checkpoint A and B exams, students are going to be exempt from them. And the NYSESLAT deadline has been extended from May 28th to June 9th. NYSESLAT is the English as a Second Language Achievement Test for our English language learners. So we'll see what the Department of Education grants as far as a New York State waiver, but right now we are moving forward with the understanding that we will have assessments at the end of the year. Emergency go home drill was originally scheduled for Thursday, April 1st, but in our reopening plan, that is now a virtual day. So we have moved that to Tuesday, March 30th. And that was in a letter that I distributed to our families yesterday. So that was just a change in date, and we will make sure that everybody is aware of that. Jen, you had asked at our Monday special meeting about BOCES and the plan for BOCES. We had our superintendent's meeting this morning with all the MO BOCE superintendents and Scott Budelman, the district leadership. And they have announced that March 29th, they're going to welcome all component district students back 5 days a week. And that'll be based on each individual district. So we will be 4 days a week. So we will send students those 4 days. If another component district is 5 days a week, they'll have the opportunity to send 5 days. If one is staying on a hybrid, they can send their kids 2 days. They will also continue to offer a virtual experience for those students on those off days. So they will be sending out correspondence through their communication platforms to all of the CTE students and all the students that will be affected through the BOCES. So I wanted to give an update on that.
Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. And lastly, as you have heard, a lot of our time has been spent on developing a reopening plan. We are very confident that we'll be able to deliver bringing kids back on April 12th after break. And that is going to be the focus of our attention from now until then, and then making sure that that plan is delivered smoothly, effectively, and safely for the remainder of the school year. So that is my report. If there's any questions.
I just hope you are ready on the 12th, because a lot of parents will be ready, whether you are or not.
We'll be ready. Don't you worry.
I was going to start at 7 a.m.
We'll be ready. We are definitely going to be ready.
And I do think there are changes coming either between 3-foot rules and 6-foot rules, and also about quarantining rules.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily talking about quarantining whole classrooms anymore when there's a situation. So I think that's also positive news and for families and sort of that instability and inconsistency of the unknowns that can exist. So hopefully that will be the case and be safe and appropriate.
There's some expectations that the CDC is going to deliver some news on 3 feet, but we'll wait. We're not going to speculate. We're only going to move on facts. So.
Yep. All right. So,
thank you.
Thank you. And again, thank you in all of this as much as the rest of that group. Steering team updates. Elementary. Who's elementary? Is that Jen?
I am. So Heather already touched base on a lot. We discussed the Brain Buddies program that was just getting ready to really gear up when we met. So I'm so excited to hear some updates with that and hear that that's going well. Something that was getting ready to take off. And I just wanted to publicly thank Amy Summers. She's been sharing with the homeschooling families that book so that they can get online and kind of be involved with that process as well, which I feel is important for connection. We also talked a little bit about connecting more with Colgate Athletics. Unfortunately, due to some conflicts, they were supposed to present at the meeting and weren't able to make that, but hoping to move forward with more of like a general partnership. So instead of teams taking specific classrooms, because some are much more engaged than others, or, you know, you could have a football team with 50 players versus, you know, another team with 10 players. So just trying to make it more of an encompassing thing throughout all of HCS instead of a team per classroom. And then we had a very brief discussion about just our personal thoughts about returning to school full time.
Great. Thank you. For the record, I think it's somewhere around 95 to 98 on the football team, as opposed to 15 on others.
True.
Yeah. So secondary.
So we have continued our working on communication. So Mark has done a lot of legwork on getting us to have different monitors with electronic signs that we're putting up in the school, and then trying to coordinate those and where that messaging comes from. And thinking about different ways to get that messaging out. But we've continued a lot of work on the alumni survey that we've been working on, and we really want that to be something that's going to provide some good data. But we want it to be something that can be used repeatedly over the years. So this can be not just data for a one-time survey, but something that we can start to rely on and see trends in over the years. So we're really working on making that as good as we can. Our next step is to kind of take our finalized survey and then work with some experts at Colgate, and then vet it with our legal team at BOCES to make sure that everything's well there. Am I missing anything else, Mark?
So just to add to the screen, so Chris and the maintenance crew got the screens up, and they look great. And we get to see Sage finish her mile. Congratulations, Sage Herta, 2016 graduate, for her amazing performance that she had. So it's working out great, and I think that it's going to be a nice tool for sharing information with the students, and once parents are able to get back into the foyer area with them as well.
Great, thank you. And those are the only steering teams, right? There's no other steering teams. Next step would be PTO.
Okay, I have that update from Sheila. So I'm just going to read what she wrote. The PTO has revamped our website. Please check out our new and improved layout. We also, along with Facebook, have a Pinterest page and an Instagram page. HCS Reads kicked off Monday, and we hope everyone is enjoying reading together. Also coming in a few weeks will be a Hamilton Knights apparel sale. The items will be sized for elementary students and younger, so more to come on that.
Awesome, thank you. And Michelle already gave us our Emerald Foundation update. Knowledge sharing, does anybody have anything to add at this point as a knowledge sharing adventure?
I just want to say we got the email about our attorneys offering a free workshop on open meeting laws. I registered for that, so if anybody else was interested, I'm already signed up for that. It's a Zoom meeting, but they called it a breakfast meeting, so I don't know if they're delivering the breakfast or if they reimburse, but we'll figure that out later.
Good luck.
I'm
glad you're
also
able to go to that
registered
call.
for that, Corey.
Oh, good. I'll see you there.
Oh, you are good.
Yes.
Great, that's awesome.
So is Bill.
Yes. Oh, good. I saw that come through, and I somehow don't think the date and time worked, so I'm glad you guys are able to go. That's awesome. NISBA update. Is there anything?
The only thing I wanted to ask and I won't call y'all out, but just make sure you did your resolution survey.
Okay.
That will really drive the advocacy efforts for next year.
Perfect. Thank you. Upcoming dates. It just says upcoming dates. That's all it says. Does anybody have a clue?
Do you know
I'm
what
showing notes online.
Oh, there are notes
Yeah.
online, not on the printed version. Okay,
So-
March 19th. Go ahead.
The upcoming dates would be 3/19, just a reminder that any petitions for the budget are due. So that would be like the library proposition that they send in, which I have not received yet. So maybe they're not gonna
Okay.
do it this year, I'm not for sure. On March 30th, it's the go home early drill that was changed from April 1st. That was included in Mr. Dowson's letter the other day that he emailed out. And April 1st is transportation requests that are due to the district for the 2021-22 school year.
Okay. Also on the agenda, now that I'm into that, says March 20th, how to become a school board of education candidate and what to expect if elected. And there's contact information there about contacting Debbie Curley before March 16th to get registered. It is a Zoom meeting this year. And that April 19th, positions for Board of Election candidates are due to the district office by 4 p.m. and petition forms can be found on the website. There was an email that came out that talked about how many signatures will be needed. And I believe it's 50. Is that right? Can somebody check me?
Now
No,
it's
the same
25.
size.
I thought it was 25.
Is it 25? Okay, I apologize. I knew that there was a change and there were concerns about significant numbers. So it's 25. Excellent.
Another important date is that
Mhm.
we've asked our parents to complete their survey
Mm.
about their intentions with the increased in-person learning. We've asked them to please submit that survey by Tuesday.
Chris, Chris or Bill, can I ask, are we getting a lot of those, or how are they coming in?
Yes, so inevitably, when we do one of these surveys, we have some duplicates where mom and dad both fill out the survey for the same kid. I haven't gone through and filtered those out yet, but we're very close to having, I would say we're at like 85% if there are no duplicates. So we're doing well.
That's great. Thank you to all the parents and guardians for doing that. Appreciate it.
We're a frequent duplicator. We organized ourselves this time and only submitted one. Thank you. All right, so then the next thing I have is community participation. So this is our second opportunity for community participation. Again, Chris, I'm going to look to you because you have the live feed that I do not have. So is there anything waiting in the wings?
Nope. Right now it's empty.
Okay. Do we have viewers?
We do. We've got a few viewers.
Excellent.
15 or 16 people still watching, hanging in there with
Pretty
us.
good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. So we can give it a few minutes, and I feel like we should have the Jeopardy song or something to wait just long enough to give people an opportunity to ring in. Nothing.
We do have a many thanks to all of you just came in.
Excellent. That's wonderful. That's good. So I'm going to use a Michelle tactic for killing some time. Do we anticipate that there will be a vote after executive session?
There will not be a vote after.
Okay. So we can say we do not anticipate there will be a vote after executive session, so we will not be coming back online at the end of that. So that's a classic Michelle tactic for filling some time, filling a gap. All right. Are we comfortable moving on?
Yes, nothing else is coming.
All right, perfect. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the 16 or 17 of you that have hung on this far. It's a long day. All right, so moving forward, I need a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss matters regarding particular individuals, and I think the thing online says and negotiation.
I'll move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yep, please. Yes, please.